ghosts and ghouls, Warlock Boo here. And today, I got a question for you. How many of you are afraid of clowns? Yeah, that's about what I thought. Clown phobia is a very big fear. I don't really understand it myself. I like clowns. They never scared me, but I grew up with Harley Quinn and the Joker. No clown can be scarier than the Joker, so I'm pretty good with that. But I have a reason you shouldn't be. A story here that is the reason you should not be afraid of clowns. This story is the Jacko, the very, very bad clown by DoctorBleed. Enjoy. Jacko was a very, very bad clown. Jacko wasn't funny. Jacko wasn't cute. Jacko doesn't make children laugh, smile, or feel safe. Jacko made children uncomfortable and afraid. Jacko made children grossed out. Jacko made children feel sad. Nobody liked Jacko, and Jacko knew it all too well. But it wasn't his fault. Jacko wanted to be a funny clown. Donna Galushi's traveling circus had lots of funny clowns. Cosmo, Peanut, Benny, Ice Cream, Uncle Woody, and even Little Willie. They were all happy clowns, and they loved making children laugh and smile. Jacko wanted to be like them. He wanted to make children laugh and smile too, but they never did. Not once. The children didn't even laugh at Jacko's jokes. The children hated Jacko's smile. He never had a single child even smile back at him. His grin never felt real. He was always so forced, so painful looking. He doesn't even really look happy, and the children could tell. They would scream and they would cry and shout. Mr. Galucci would have to make Jacko leave the stage. Jacko hated being a bad clown. He hated that he couldn't make people laugh and clap and be happy. The other clowns all loved Jacko, and he loved the other clowns right back. There weren't many people who liked clowns anymore. Other children who still come to the circus, so clowns have to stick together. They were like family, and the only real family Jacko ever had in his life. The other clowns cared about Jacko and loved him unconditionally, even if he was a bad clown. That's what good clowns do. They love people. They never hurt people. They make the circus a happy place. There were many different types of clowns. There were entertainers that made people laugh and smile. There were their foils and sidekicks who had to be in the butts of most of the jokes. There were the sad clowns who could make people cry. And then there were the bad clowns. The clowns nobody liked. The clowns that couldn't even be sidekicks because everyone was so afraid of them. Jacko, of course, was a bad clown. Mr. Galucci hated Jacko more than the children did. He wanted Jacko gone, or at least never allowed to perform again. After all, Jacko scared the children and upset them, and it was costing him money. Money was everything to Mr. Galucci, and if you ever got between him and it, you were the enemy. But the other clowns were having none of it. As you know, clowns have to stick together. If you get rid of one clown, you have to get rid of them all. Mr. Galucci knew he couldn't run a circus without clowns, so he had to let Jacko stay. There was just no question. Jacko hated being a bad clown. He hated scaring people. He hated making them upset. Jacko wanted the circus to be a happy place. Clowns especially had to be happy. The circus was supposed to be happy. After all, the people who were supposed to make you laugh couldn't even smile. How could you? Uncle Woody told Jacko that whenever you have a really bad day and needed to make himself happy so he could perform, he thought of a happy memory to perk him up. Like when he got married, or when his son was born, or his first kiss, or even just silly things like a funny TV show or a payday. Jacko couldn't do that because he doesn't have any happy memories. Jacko's life before the circus wasn't very happy. When he was a child, his parents were very sad people. His father was a bad man who liked to hit his mother and scream all sorts of nasty and foul things at her. He would beat her all day and all night until his hands were too sore to hit anymore. She would scream, she would cry, she would call for help, but no one ever came. How could Jacko help? He was only a little boy. But Jacko wasn't just upset that he couldn't make people laugh. He also hated all those bad guests that would come to the circus. The people who were rude and nasty and mean. The people who would shout at the other guests, get in fights, throw things at the clowns and cuss at them. The mean teenagers, the drunk men, grumpy old people, and worst of all, the bad children who didn't listen to the parents. Oh, Jacko really hated them. He was so jealous. These children were with good parents who loved them, and they rejected them. They were mean and bratty and disrespectful. They had what Jacko always wanted, and they just threw it away. Clowns would perform lots of amazing stunts and spectacular tricks to entertain all the people who came to the circus. They leaped from great heights, walked on tightropes, juggled dangerous objects, drove go-karts at high speeds, balanced themselves on balloons and unicycles, shot themselves from cannons, even set themselves on fire sometimes. Uncle Woody told Jacko they could do all this because clowns were like cartoons. They could do anything no one else could do because they could never be hurt. Now you could burn them, crush them, flatten them like pancakes, stab them, shoot them. They'd always get right back up and come back for more. One night, Jacko was upset after having a particularly bad day at the circus. They were in a rough town, and all the people there were really mean. And they cussed, they threw things, they fought with each other, they booed at the performers, they littered, and they hardly ever laughed. And Jacko hated them. Uncle Woody said good clowns never hate. Jacko wasn't a good clown, and he knew it. Uncle Woody also always said that good clowns should never drink or smoke, but Jacko knew he wasn't a good clown, and he was always very sad. He felt like he needed to drink and smoke just to get through the day. Jacko had finished drinking, and he was feeling a bit woozy. He was walking back to the big top so he could lay down and fall asleep. It was a cold that night. Jacko was wearing a red bomber jacket over his usual red suit. Just that moment, Jacko heard something horrible happening on the circus ground. He heard a woman crying and screaming for help, and a man yelling at her. Jacko rushed over to find a horrible sight. There was a dirty man with a nasty beard pinning a woman to the ground and hitting her. He was screaming the most awful things and swearing and smacking her really hard. It was a horrible thing for Jacko to see. It reminded him how his father used to beat his mother right in front of him. How he would smack her and scream at her and tell her she was worthless. It made him so sick. That moment, he didn't see a man hitting a woman. He saw his mother crying on the ground and begging for help. When he looked at the man, he didn't just see his father. He saw every bad guest he had ever come to the circus. He saw every bad child, every rude teenager, every drunken adult, all the people who used naughty words, all the people who booed at his friends, all the people who threw things, every single person who littered and screamed. Everyone. He hated that man more than he hated anyone in his life. It was at that moment the man reached in his jacket and pulled out a large knife. Jacko didn't know what the man was going to do, but he didn't want to find out. So at that moment, Jacko did what he always wished he could have done as a child. He stepped in and stopped the man. The man took a look at Jacko and screamed. He was afraid of clowns. Jacko hated it when people were afraid of him, and he really hated people who were afraid of clowns. The man stabbed Jacko in the stomach and chest over and over, slamming away at him clumsily as his hands were shaking from fear. But it doesn't work. Jacko doesn't get hurt. He doesn't bleed. Nothing happened. It's just like Uncle Woody said. Clowns are like cartoons. You can't hurt them. They always come right back for more. Jacko slammed his beer bottle over the man's head, shattering it, knocking the man to the ground and making him drop his knife. The man's face was covered in broken glass. He was screaming even louder now and begging Jacko to stop. But Jacko was too mad. He hated this man so much it made him sick. He hated this man so much he doesn't want him to exist anymore. He wanted him dead. Then when Jacko picked up the man's knife, he stabbed the rude man over and over, splashing blood everywhere. The man yelled and cried and begged Jacko to stop and called for help. But it was quiet at night and there was no one around. Man's cries for help were smothered by the sound of him gurgling up his own blood and choking on it. Jacko stabbed at the man over and over again until he stopped moving. Jacko felt the life drain right out of the man as he died. Jacko stood up, his suit and jacket covered from head to toe in gooey red blood. He looked over at the woman, who was trembling in fear. He doesn't know what to say to her, but he soon found he doesn't have to say anything. The woman ran over and hugged him. She wrapped her arms around him and squeezed tight. She was so happy. Jacko saved her life. He was a hero. She wouldn't be alive right now if it wasn't for Jacko. Just then, Jacko felt something crawling on his face that he had never felt before in his whole life. A smile. He was smiling for the first time ever. A real smile. Not a forced one. Not a mean one. A real happy smile. One where you can look at someone right in the eyes and tell they really mean it. It was a soft, curvy smile. It was the first real smile he ever had. It was the first happy memory he ever had. He choked back tears and hugged the woman right back. He was so happy. He never wanted the moment to end. The very next day, Jacko was on the stage ready to perform. All the children was very frightened, just like every other day, but Jacko wasn't upset. He'd come to expect it. Then he remembered Uncle Wordy's advice. Think of a happy memory, and your smile will be real. Now he finally had a happy memory, and for the first time, Jacko smiled on stage. It was a real smile, and the children could tell. They loved it. All the children clapped and cheered. They were so happy. Jacko wasn't a bad clown. Jacko was a happy clown. He could smile, dance, perform tricks, and make everybody laugh. Jacko was so happy. He jumped, he giggled, he danced. He played with the other children. He had a wonderful time. It was the best show the circus had done in years. And it was all because of Jacko. All the other clowns were so proud of Jacko. Everyone in the circus was. Animal tamers, the acrobats, the jugglers, the freaks, the dancers, the stuntmen, the strongmen. Even grumpy Mr. Gallucci was proud of him. It was the happiest day of Jacko's life. He knew he'd only get happier because he doesn't just have one happy memory. He'd keep getting new ones every day. The clowns all threw a big party after that for Jacko to celebrate. There were balloons. There was cake. It was a great time. But out of the corner of his eye, Jacko noticed something he didn't like seeing. It was a bad child. Being rude, yelling at his poor parents, behaving badly, making other visitors very upset. He was a naughty little boy. The circus was supposed to be a happy place. But Jacko doesn't get upset. He wrapped his hand around the hilt of the large knife in his pocket and grinned. It wasn't a good smile. It was a wicked, forced smile, like the kind he used to have on stage. It was the kind of smile someone has when they have naughty thoughts in their head. Jacko had something very, very unpleasant on his mind. Jacko wanted the circus to be a happy place, and since last night, he realized that if he wanted things to change, he'd have to change them himself. He hated all the bad guests who visited the circus. The rude people, the nasty, mean people, the people who'd shout and get in fights and throw things. All the people who booed at his friends and throw things. All the people who cussed and got drunk. All the mean teenagers, the grumpy old people. But most of all, the naughty children who didn't listen to his parents. He'd fix all of them, one by one. And it would start tonight when he followed that little boy home. Jacko could smile. He could laugh. He could make other people laugh. He could do tricks and make all sorts of people happy. But in his heart, he was still a very, very bad clown. So, my ghoulies, what did you think of that? Should have tamed your fear of clowns a bit, because as long as you're not one of those people, you don't have to worry about anything. But then again, we can all have a bad, foul day, and who's to say yours may not fall during the circus. Let's just hope it's not a particular circus now. You don't want to see a clown staring through your window tonight. But what did you think? Comment below and tell me how you liked it or didn't, and leave me a like. It really makes me feel good. And subscribe. I do these at least once a week. And if you want to hear more, I do more. Along with some reviews I do at least every Sunday. But until then, this has been Warlock Boo, hoping to be spoken y'all later. Bye.